Thanks everyone for spending a few minutes with me to talk about mobility solutions from Novell. The fact that we have mobile devices is probably not new. Everybody's got one of these. Originally we started off with an IT savvy or a tech savvy executive bringing one of these devices in. Everybody was a little bit skeptical, but they weren't giving IT a choice. You simply had to make it work. As these devices became more popular, there was a trend towards supplying your users with them, making them more productive outside of the office or on different locations, different offices and so on. But now there's more of a trend towards going back to having the users bring their own devices, specifically the BYOD strategy about reducing costs and so on. No matter what kind of a device you have, whether it's corporately supplied or personal supplied device, it does provide some challenges to organizations in terms of how do you provide services to those devices, how do you secure those devices, and so on. And that's what we're going to focus on. So Novell has been in existence for over 30 years, and our legacy and our strength is file, print, and management. And what we're doing now is providing file, print, and management capabilities to your mobile devices. If we take a look and start off with files, everybody works with files, no matter who you are. If you're the CEO of a hospital, if you're a doctor, if you're a janitor, chances are you open up Word or some kind of a text editor of some sort, creating a file, filling out a form, whatever the case may be. The solutions that a lot of people find to bring those files out to those mobile devices are typically free cloud-based solutions, and at that point the organization has really lost track of what happens to those files, who owns those files when the person leaves, who else has access to those files, and what's in those files in the first place. So Novell has a solution called Novell Filer, which takes all of the existing data that you have sitting already on your file servers, along with all of the access controls that you've spent literally decades putting in place around those files, and makes them available to you on your mobile device. It is a software-based appliance that you can drop in. It runs on VMware, Hyper-V or Xen, XEN hypervisors. And using standards-based protocols, it allows your mobile devices and remote users to get access to those files without needing to move them into a cloud or anything like that. At the same time, it does give them that cloud-like experience in terms of the look and feel and the functionality of accessing those files. On the back end of this appliance, we will tie into your existing directories, eDirectory or Active Directory, using an LDAP connector. We can actually connect to multiple directories at the same time, so that when the user comes through to look at the file system, we're actually enumerating the rights, the ACLs that are on those files, and displaying only those files that the user has access to. One of the other capabilities that a lot of people look for in these kinds of solutions is the ability to share files, make it easy to share files with other users. So that is built into this. On the back end, we allow the user to the external user to either create an account for them or use OpenID to authenticate. Another service that we provide on top of the existing files that you already have in place is the full text searching capability. So now you can full text search enable all of the files that you have sitting on your file servers. For people who are remote and maybe don't have access to the server all the time, even though the Filer app is quite easy, you can subscribe and get notifications when those files get updated and modified. So you'll get an email saying so-and-so has updated a file, and if you want, you can actually check a box and have that file emailed to you, but at least you know it's been updated. You don't have to constantly go back and log in to see what's been modified or what's been changed. So this is a screenshot of the Filer application. What you see on the left-hand side is My Files. This is your home directory on the network. So your F drive or whatever it might be. Those files are pulled directly from the server, and actually they're not pulled yet, but you're given a list of all those files that are sitting on the server. You can click on them and retrieve them onto the device. You can open them, modify them, edit them, make changes, whatever you want to do. And if necessary, share them with other people, provided the administrator has given you the rights. So the ability to share both internally and externally is something that is controlled by IT so that you can't, if there's certain types of data that can't be shared, that can be blocked for users. On the right-hand side, you see net folders, and these are the map drives, the network shares, and so on that the users might have inside of their environment. So we give you full access, the full file access, both personal files and shared files from this device. Shared with me represents the files that other people have shared with you. Again, you don't actually have rights to these files on the file system, and therefore they will never show up under net folders. But what we do is we overlay those rights, the ability for the users to share them with you inside a filer, and they show up under shared with me. Again, provided the administrator has given you rights. You can easily manage your shares, the files that you have shared with other people by clicking on shared by me. If you want to revoke access, add somebody else to that list, and so on. When you do share, you can give them full unlimited access, you can give them view-only access, edit access, and you can set it to expire on a specific day or after a certain amount of days. Filer also supports an activity stream, so the what's new will show you what files have been modified, what files have been updated, and display that quickly and easily for you within the Filer app. In addition to the mobile apps for which we have iOS, Android, and BlackBerry 10 devices, we also have a browser interface which looks exactly the same as this, and you can see it just around the back. We also support a desktop sync agent for both Windows and Macintosh computers for users that are mobile but not using a tablet or a smartphone. They might be just working from home from a laptop or on the road or something like that. It will actually synchronize those files and sync them back, any changes back up to the server once it reconnects to the network. Once people have access to files, the next most common thing that they'll want to do or ask for is, how do I print these files? The solution there that people typically find is simply emailing those files to one another to print out and get those hard copies that you need. That, of course, clogs up your email system. It also potentially causes problems in terms of somebody having access to data that they shouldn't. You find the closest person that is available. Hey, can I email you a file? How does anyone know that that file that you emailed them is something that they should have? And more importantly, what do they do with that file after they've printed it for you? Do they in fact delete it for you, or do they forward it on to somebody else? So our solution for printing is something called something called iPrint. It is something that has been within the Novell product family for over 20 years, where we've been providing desktop-based printing as part of our Open Enterprise server platform. We have broken that out into a virtual appliance, much like iPrint, much like Filer, and given you the ability to deploy this quickly and easily inside of any environment. So we do provide desktop printing for both Windows, Mac, and Linux computers. Users can simply, once you've created these appropriate maps, click on the printer. It automatically installs all the appropriate printer drivers to your workstation, configures that printer with the right number of trays, the right number of the right paper types, and so on, and allows the user to print to that printer. But what we're here to talk about is mobile devices, and that's really what iPrint has evolved into in terms of allowing mobile devices to print. So we can take any printer inside of your environment. It does not need to be AirPrint enabled or anything else. That printer could be 10 years old, and we can enable it to print from mobile devices. What we support is an app for iOS, Android, and we'll shortly have BlackBerry 10 and Windows is on our roadmap as well. That app you simply do open in or share with on Android and pass the document that you're looking at on your mobile device to that application, the iPrint application, to print using then IPP. The app will authenticate to eDirectory or Active Directory, so we can do secure printing, track who is printing, what documents, and so on, and make sure that that printer that the user is trying to print to is in fact something they're allowed to print to. Could be the CEO's printer. You don't want everybody in the office printing to that, or everybody inside of the organization printing that. Could be a restricted printer that way. For iOS-based devices, iOS has something called AirPrint built in. We can also AirPrint enable any printer if you want. AirPrint is not something that most people want to enable on their infrastructure. It's a very chatty protocol. It broadcasts everywhere. But it's also at the same time very easy to use, so it has those benefits for you. If you have a device that does not have an app or support AirPrint, or if you're currently disconnected from the network, we also support email printing. So from an Amazon Kindle or something like that, you can simply take a document, email it to iPrint, and iPrint will print that document for you. Likewise, the app, if it cannot communicate to the iPrint appliance, it will actually route that document via email to iPrint to deliver when it reconnects to the network. So no matter what device you have the ability to email a document into iPrint. For documents that are emailed or delivered via the mobile app, we also render and convert that document into something that the printer can understand. On your workstation, when you click on print, that actually happens right there on your workstation. But on mobile devices, they don't have that kind of a capability, so we do that for you within the iPrint appliance to make sure that the printers that you have can properly receive that document. And then here you have a screenshot of those three options. In fact, this happens to be an Adobe Acrobat Adobe Reader app on an iOS device. Down here at the bottom, again, it's iOS, so it supports AirPrint, and that's what that option is. When you say open in, it will in fact take this document, which happens to be just a PowerPoint, a presentation, a PDF of a PowerPoint presentation, and pass that on to the iPrint app, which will then deliver it to the printer that you select. And the other option is the email option, and that is, again, by sending it to the email address that you've specified for iPrint, we'll deliver that job for you. You can have one email address for the iPrint appliance and simply specify on the subject line of your email which printer you want it to go to, or you can set up an email address for each printer inside of your environment. The choice is up to you. So the third part of our solution is the management of those devices. Once you've deployed those devices, you do need some way to control the information that gets on them in the first place, the applications that the users need, and what happens when those devices get lost in terms of reclaiming that device. The users in most organizations don't simply care about the policies that you have, the concerns that you might have around the security. The first question that they have is, give me my email, because in most cases that is the app that they use. But they may also have other applications, and then the file and print. So those are, in most cases, secondary. But regardless of the type of device that they have, whether it's iOS, Android, Windows, BlackBerry, etc., those are pretty much the basic requirements that they come to the table with. From an IT perspective, however, you have some concerns around what are those devices doing, what data is on there, how do you support those devices once they're out in the field, and so on. So that solution needs to support both of those kinds of capabilities. Make it easy for the users, but at the same time, give management the ability to monitor those devices, see what's happening, support those devices remotely, because having the user physically bring that device to the help desk every single time if there's an app that needs to be installed or something needs to be reconfigured is not really a practical solution. And then also the reporting in terms of what's going on and forecasting in terms of how those devices are being used, where the growth is, and so on. So that's where our ZenWorks mobile management comes in. It gives you those tools, it gives you the dashboards, it gives you the reports to go out and manage those devices. ZenWorks mobile management is not an appliance like the previous two solutions are. It does need to be installed on a server. However, at the top, it supports email. So the very first thing that users will typically ask for is, how do I connect my email? Rather than connecting the user's device directly to your email server, what you can do is use ZenWorks Mobile Management as a proxy and route that email through ZenWorks Mobile Management. Once you have that in place, ZenWorks Mobile Management can then layer on additional commands and functionality onto that communication channel between the device and the back-end email server. So we can then use that to push out applications to the device. We can push out policies, obviously printers and files, as we've just discussed with Filer and iPrint. ZenWorks Mobile Management is a user-based solution, so it does identify to the user which device they have or which devices that they have. So in the case that they have multiples, you can differentiate which one it is. The user does need to authenticate, again, using LDAP into eDirectory or Active Directory on your back-end data store. There is also an element of self-service where the users can go in, they can choose from a catalog which applications you want them to have. These are corporate applications. They don't have to go out to the App Store. They don't have to purchase them themselves. You can make those available. You can provide the user with reporting capabilities. Where is the device? You know, they might have lost it, and rather than calling the help desk and saying, I lost the device, when they think it's at their cousin's place where they were last night, but they're not entirely sure, they can actually look it up and locate the device regardless of whether it's iOS or Android or BlackBerry or Windows devices. And if they forget their password or something like that, because IT has a policy of putting 8-character passwords on those devices, they can in fact reset it through a user portal. So Novell solutions give you the ability to manage file, print, as well as do device management and secure those devices across multiple platforms. We have Windows and Mac. Again, that's our legacy, but we have extended that onto iOS, Android, and BlackBerry devices. The goal is to make your users productive across any device that they choose to use, whether it's a desktop device or a mobile device, but at the same time make those devices secure so that no data can be compromised that might remain on those. So we have all of these solutions in the back. You can come by and you can actually see them in action, ask questions and so on, but we also have a couple of other sessions that Novell is doing every other half hour. We have a solution called File Management Suite, which lets you automate the management of your files and report on how the files on your servers are being used. And we also have the full ZenWorks suite that we're talking about, again at the back and in the theater sessions, managing your devices, Windows, Mac, Linux, as well as the mobile devices, providing you application distribution, remote control, policy management, asset management, full disk encryption, all of those kinds of capabilities. We can lock down those devices, secure those devices, and allow you to effectively deploy them inside of your environment without concern about what might happen to those devices if they're misused or lost or anything else.
All right, question. Go ahead.
Yep.
I missed the very first few minutes of this, but is there anything in the file manager that prevents you from sharing a file up to iCloud or Google Drive or anything?
Right, so the question was, if we just go back a couple of slides here, about something in Filer that prevents you from sharing files into iCloud or Google Drive or something like that. Exactly. This is a solution that replaces those. I mean, you can't effectively tell your users not to use them if you're not going to give them an alternative, right? So this gives them exactly the same experience with the same capabilities, access the files anywhere from any device, but they don't have to go to the cloud. All of your... So there is an option, if we go to our screenshot, and I don't have it in this, but there is an option to download the file, but you can block that option so that they can't download the file. What they can do is view the file, which will temporarily view the file, but as soon as they close the app or change screens, that is gone, right? So there are controls that you can put in place over what the user can do with the file. You can say they can look at it, but they can't download it. Or you can say they can open that document into this app that we've supplied, but not these other 7 apps that they might be able to get.
If you have a containerized editor, if you wanted to edit the files, but not allow it to be shared out?
That can be implemented, yes, so that you can control what Yes, you can get that kind of functionality within Filer, so that you're limited as to what you can do with that file once it's on the device. Even if it's temporarily on the device, you can only open it in this editor, and that's it. You can't do anything else.